Ghanaians were at the polls today for a presidential election in which one will be focusing on is boosting an economy that has suffered its first quarterly contraction in nearly 40 years.
Okay.
The West African economic powerhouse this year suffered its first quarterly economic contraction in nearly 4 decades. And the two main candidates for the presidency are both offering a recovery. Incumbent President Nana Akufo-Addo is promising to push ahead with a $17 billion program to boost jobs.
The second term of Akufo-Addo is going to bring the house of prosperity, the house of progress, the house of development, the house of employment to our country.
His main challenger, former President John Mahama, has a $10 billion infrastructure program at the heart of his campaign.
We vote to elect a president and a government who can fix and improve the economy so we can profit from our businesses and take care of our families.
Last year, Ghana emerged from a 3-year lending program with the International Monetary Fund, only for a world of lockdowns to knock demands for its key exports, oil and cocoa. There are 12 presidential candidates on the ballot, but most voters are expected to be chosen between Akufo-Addo and Mahama. The race, in which a parliament will also be elected, is expected to be tight. Commentators suggest Akufo-Addo may have a slight lead based on his performance in a tumultuous year in which his administration provided free water and subsidized electricity to households.
Ghanaian journalist Elvis Darko is the editor of the Finder newspaper, and he joins us now via Zoom from Accra, the capital of the country. Thanks so much indeed for joining us. Always good to talk to you, Mr. Darko. So let's talk about the lead up to today. The campaigning, was it free and fair? Was it conducive to a fair election and polling today?
Oh, I think the events leading to the campaign were very free and fair. The candidates went around the country campaigning, and their concentration were mostly at their strongholds. The NDC spent much time at their stronghold, which is in the Volta region, and the MPP, Nana Akufo-Addo, also spent much time in the Ashanti region, which is the MPP's stronghold. So for the campaign towards these elections, I can say everything was really free and fair and peaceful.
And today, was it also similarly peaceful across the country?
Largely, voting has been very peaceful. In fact, we can say that in the Fourth Republic, this election happens to be the most peaceful election so far, especially when you consider the voting day. There were only few isolated incidents that have been reported, and even on that score, the security moved in very swiftly to handle the situation. So for now, the voting day has been very peaceful, and polling has ended, and counting of votes is underway at the various polling stations.
All right. And how soon might we start getting some results coming through?
Some of the results at the polling stations have started coming in. However, these are results that are so small that it's difficult to use it to measure any success of who is likely to win. And therefore, it will take us for the next 2 to 3 hours where we will begin to get the actual results from the various constituencies collated. At that point, we begin to see the trend as to which party really is likely to win the election. So from now till about 10 p.m. Ghana time, which is 22 GMT, we have to wait till that time before we begin to get a certain trend. And by the time many people wake up in the morning, most of the constituencies would have been counted and gazetted. And then by that time, a lot of the constituencies would have been known who is winning. And then when you compare the votes counted from the strongholds of the two parties, then you begin to get an idea of who is likely to win the elections.
So are you suggesting by breakfast tomorrow morning we'll have a really good indicator as to who probably will win the election?
Exactly. By breakfast tomorrow, we should have an idea of who is really leading the race, because people are not going to sleep in this night. The Electoral Commission officials are not going to sleep until they are done with counting. Also, the two major parties, the NDC and the NPP, also have their own collation centers. So they are also going to work throughout the night to collect all the results that they are receiving from their polling agents from the various polling stations. So by morning, both NDC and NPP will have a clear idea of their votes from the various polling stations. Will have an idea of where they stand in the election. And the Electoral Commission itself, too, by that time, will have an idea of who actually is leading the race.
All right. I mean, you know, it's always a concern on the continent, but Ghana seems to have been a shining light when it comes to running elections. There are no fears, I guess, at this stage that there could be any kind of rigging or playing with the votes.
No, in Ghana, the way the system works, rigging can only take place if your representatives at the polling station and the constituency collation center do not do a good job. Those are the places that things can likely change. But when you have people who are very smart and are on top of the job at the polling station and at the collation center, it is impossible for anybody to go and change the figures at the national level. So always the focus is supposed to be at the polling center. And today an incident happened where some electoral official who is supposed to be issuing out ballot papers to voters decided to cut the ballot paper minus Nana Akufo-Addo. The polling agent at the station spotted it and pointed it out, and that official actually has been arrested as we speak, because Nana Addo is the first on the ballot paper. But that polling official from the EC decided to cut the ballot paper minus the candidate Nana Addo Akufo-Addo. And the polling agent there actually recognized that, no, what the gentleman is doing is not right, and reported it, and the guy has been arrested. So when you have very educated polling agents at the polling station, and you have same people or equally good people that will observe it at the county stage, at the constituency level, it is very difficult for anybody to change the figure when these things are done properly at the polling center and at the collation centers.
All right. So analysts are saying that this is a tight race. Is that what you think it is?
Well, it will, for now, I can't say it's a tight race. The reason being that the NDC lost the last elections by almost 1 million vote difference, which is really big. Which is really big for the first time in the Fourth Republic. That's the biggest margin we've seen a party lost an election. As to how they are going to close that margin quickly in order to be able to make it tight, I really do not foresee. In the elections, we had two major polls that normally, when we are heading to elections, give us a trend of what is likely to happen. One is done by the Center for Democratic Development, CDD, and another is done by the University of Ghana Political Science Department. Although both of them did not predict that this person is going to win, it shows clearly that the NPP seems to have an edge when it comes to the policies and programs they are promising. Ghanaians have given NPP an edge over the NDC by between 11 and 15 points. And there's one major policy that is like going to determine a whole lot of things in this election. It's about free secondary education. In the 2016 elections, it became a major issue. And it got to a point where John Mahama said it's not something that is possible. His party said it's not something that is possible within the shortest possible time. And President Akufo-Addo has managed to implement it with challenges anyway. And the first batch of students have actually just graduated and their results are out. And at least 50% pass has happened, and the best pass since 2015. So the surveys from the University of Ghana Political Science Department and that of CDD, at least over 60% of respondents say that the free SHS policy could influence their vote. If that should translate into actual votes, then probably we may not see a landslide, a close contest. It may be a landslide. However, John Mahama also promises that motorbikes, which people are using for commercial transport in Ghana, it is illegal under the law as we speak. But he has promised that he was going to make it legal And he's also promising that he's going to make sure that first-year students that will go to the university next year actually will not pay any fee. So people look at this policy. It's also promising a free primary health care. So if people should buy into some of these policies by the John Mahama party, then probably that will be the situation where we'll have the race being tight. But as we speak, the surveys that have come out before the elections, if we are to go by it, including the Economic Intelligence Unit report, indicate that the NPP should be able to win the elections. So the policies will determine whether Ghanaians really have bought into the promises by John Mahama. If they did, then we could have a close race. But if the results from CDD poll and that of the University of Ghana poll, which says that about over 60% are saying free secondary education policy will influence their vote. If that translates into a vote, then obviously there will not be a tight race. For now, we just look at the crowds during the campaign period to be saying that probably it could be a tight race. But for evidence purposes, the researches that have come out so far did not suggest so.
All right, and I suppose it's easier for the incumbent to get across the line, especially if you haven't dropped the ball significantly during your administration. But both struggled to deal with corruption. Has that been a big issue for Ghanaians?
Yes, corruption is a big issue, but unfortunately, this particular year, it seems it's not it's not at the top. If you look at the survey from the CDD and the University of Ghana, in fact, corruption is not among the first three issues that people are considering to vote for. They are rather looking for infrastructure. They are looking for roads. So the issue of corruption rather is not at the top of the things people are going to look for when they vote. And this is what the two surveys have suggested. So if we are going by the two surveys, obviously it may not really be an issue. But the truth of the matter is that under John Mahama's administration, there were a lot of reported or alleged corruption. And under this government too, there are a lot of alleged corruption practices. And the problem is, under both administrations, we are yet to really have the courts actually convicting people in numbers that will give us the confidence that indeed these people were corrupt or not. But as we speak, we are not seeing the convictions that will make us believe that those allegations are either true or false. So the issue of corruption, yes, it is an issue. It's an issue we discuss. But it also happens that corruption is an issue we discuss like in the cities. It appears when you go to rural areas, people really do not discuss the issue of corruption much when it comes to politics. They are rather looking at basic things that they need to improve their lives. Like they are looking for government to come and do something like water, even if it's a borehole. They are looking for electricity to be extended to their communities. They are looking for the road in their community to be done. They are looking for some school to be built in their community. So for rural Ghana, where we have a larger percentage of the people who are voting, the issue of corruption really does not really come up in their discussion more. They focus more on what basic development they need. We do discussions of corruption at the cities, the big cities in Ghana. We focus on corruption because radio and television and newspapers will always write about it. So it influences the discussions on radio and television in big cities, but not same with rural communities.
All right. And that's where we'll leave it. Elvis Darko, always good talking to you. Thanks so much indeed for your insights.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's Elvis Darko, who's a journalist and editor of the Finder newspaper, saying that perhaps there might be a slight edge, if the polls are to be believed, that the incumbent president, Nana Akufo-Addo, probably might get off the land. But we'll be watching this story as it unfolds. We'll have more for you on The Globe right after this. Stay with us.